Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to share and subscribe the channel Whispers Across the Void. Lieutenant Tarek Navarro pressed his face against the viewing port of the Nebula Seeker, watching the swirling cosmic dust outside. 3 years into their deep space expedition, and still the wonders of the universe never ceased to amaze him. The scout ship hummed softly around him, almost alive in its gentle vibrations. "Still stargazing, Lieutenant." Captain Juno's voice came from behind. "We're approaching the Callisto Nebula. You're needed at your station." Tarek nodded, his dark eyes still fixed on the view. "Have you ever wondered what's out there, Captain? Beyond our understanding." "Save the philosophy for your journals," Juno replied, though not unkindly. "We're scientists, not poets." But Tarek couldn't help himself. The vast emptiness between stars had always called to him in ways he couldn't explain. There was something waiting in the darkness, he felt it in his bones. The Nebula Seeker had been dispatched from Earth's interstellar coalition to study anomalous energy signals emanating from the Callisto Nebula, a previously unmapped region of space near the galactic rim. Humanity had colonized 17 exoplanets across 3 star systems, but they had yet to encounter intelligent extraterrestrial life. Tarek sometimes wondered if they ever would. He settled at his navigation console as the ship slowed to sublight speed. The nebula spread before them, a breathtaking canvas of blues and purples tinged with gold. "Energy patterns intensifying," reported Officer Naima from her science station. "Whatever's generating these signals is just ahead." "Take us in closer," ordered Captain Juno. "Maintain defensive protocols." The Nebula Seeker drifted into the cosmic cloud, sensors probing the mysterious energies. Tarek monitored their course, making minor adjustments to avoid the denser pockets of stellar matter. "I'm picking up something strange," Naima said suddenly. "The energy signature just changed. It's almost as if it's responding to our presence." A jolt ran through the ship, throwing Tarek against his console. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. "What was that?" demanded Juno. "Unknown, Captain," said Naima, her fingers flying across her console. "But the energy readings are off the charts now." Another jolt, stronger this time. The viewing ports filled with blinding light, forcing Tarek to shield his eyes. When he looked again, the nebula had shifted somehow, revealing what appeared to be a massive crystalline structure floating in space, a structure that hadn't been there moments before. "Is that artificial?" whispered Juno. Before anyone could respond, Tarek felt a strange sensation, like fingers brushing against his consciousness. He gasped, clutching his head. "Lieutenant." Juno's voice seemed distant. "Tarek, what's wrong? Can you hear me?" The voice in his mind was unlike anything he'd ever experienced, musical and alien, yet somehow familiar. "Someone's communicating," Tarek managed, his voice strained. "In my head." Captain Juno immediately activated emergency protocols. "Naima, scan for telepathic intrusions." "Tarek, report to Medical Bay immediately." But Tarek couldn't move. The presence in his mind grew stronger, more distinct. "Please do not fear. I mean no harm. I have waited so long for someone to hear me." Despite his training, despite everything he knew about first contact protocols, Tarek reached back with his thoughts. "Who are you?" A feeling of surprise, then joy. "You can respond." "My name is Lyriel. I am of the Etheria." Across the bridge, Captain Juno was barking orders, but Tarek barely heard them. Something was happening to the crystalline structure outside. A smaller formation detached from the main body and drifted toward their ship. "Captain," he said, his voice steadier now. "I think we're about to have a visitor." Juno looked at him sharply. "Explain." "The entity communicating with me. Her name is Lyriel. She's coming aboard." "That's impossible. Our airlocks are sealed, and there's been no request for docking." As if in answer, a shimmer of light appeared in the center of the bridge. It coalesced slowly, taking form, translucent crystalline structures arranged in a vaguely humanoid shape, pulsing with inner light. The security officers drew their weapons, but Tarek stepped forward. "Wait. She's not hostile." The crystalline being, Lyriel, turned toward him, facets of her form catching and refracting the bridge lights in mesmerizing patterns. "Tarek," came her voice in his mind. "At last, we meet across the void." How do you know my name? He asked aloud. I know your thoughts, as you now know mine. Our minds are compatible. This is rare between species. Captain Juno stepped forward cautiously. I am Captain Juno of the Earth vessel Nebula Seeker. What is your purpose here? Lyriel's form shifted slightly, crystals realigning. I am an explorer, like you. My people, the Etheria, have observed your species from afar. We have been cautious about making contact. Why contact us now? Asked Tarek. A ripple passed through Lyriel's crystalline body, something like a sigh. The Council forbids direct interaction with corporeal beings. But I sense something different about your ship, about you specifically, Tarek Novaro. Your mind calls to mine across impossible distances. Naima's console beeped urgently. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the larger structure. The main view screen activated, revealing another crystalline being, larger and more complex than Lyriel. Its mental voice, when it came, was cold and authoritative, broadcasted somehow to all of them. Lyriel of the Third Resonance, you have violated the non-interference directive. Return to the collective immediately. Lyriel's form dimmed slightly. Elder Rither, I have found one whose mind resonates with ours. The prophecy. Silence. The force of the command made Tarek wince. Corporeal beings are not ready for communion. You risk everything with this reckless behavior. Tarek felt something he couldn't explain, a pull toward Lyriel, a desire to protect her. Your people clearly have advanced technology, he said to the being on the screen. We seek peaceful contact and mutual understanding. The elder's form pulsed with what seemed like irritation. Human, you cannot comprehend the cosmic order. There are laws older than your species that govern interactions between dimensional planes. Lyriel moved closer to Tarek. But the resonance is undeniable, Elder. For the first time in 7 millennia, the pattern repeats. The stars themselves speak of it. Return now, or face dissolution, the Elder commanded and vanished from the screen. Lyriel turned to Tarek, her crystalline form dimming further. I must go. But this connection between us, it is forbidden, yet it exists against all cosmic probability. Will I see you again? Tarek asked, surprising himself with the depth of emotion in his voice. The nebula conceals a place between our worlds. When the twin stars align, seek the 7th resonance frequency. Her form began to dissolve into particles of light. Remember, Tarek, what is written in the stars cannot be undone, even by those who guard the cosmic law. As she faded completely, Tarek felt a hollowness in his mind where her presence had been, and a certainty that his life had irrevocably changed. Captain Juno placed a hand on his shoulder. Lieutenant, what just happened? Tarek stared at the empty space where Lyriel had been. I think we just made first contact, Captain. He paused, looking out at the crystalline structure now retreating into the nebula. And I think I just broke some kind of universal law. The Nebula Seeker fell silent as the crew processed the encounter. But in Tarek's mind, a single thought burned: he would find her again, no matter what cosmic laws stood in their way. The quantum entanglement. 2 standard months had passed since the encounter in the Callisto Nebula. The Nebula Seeker had returned to Outpost Helios, Earth's furthest research station, where Tarek now spent his nights studying everything humanity knew about quantum frequencies and interdimensional communication. You look terrible, said Dr. Petra Solano, sliding into the seat across from him in the station's nearly empty cafeteria. Her dark hair was pulled back in her usual practical bun, concern evident in her eyes. Have you been sleeping at all? Tarek rubbed his bloodshot eyes. I'm close to something, Petra. The 7th resonance frequency Lyriel mentioned, I think it's a specific quantum vibration that allows communication across dimensional barriers. Petra lowered her voice. You know Commander Draven has submitted a formal report about your obsession. The Interstellar Coalition is taking the Etheria encounter very seriously, and they don't want a rogue lieutenant conducting unsanctioned experiments. They're afraid, Tarek said, pushing away his untouched food. First contact with a species advanced enough to traverse dimensions, and they're responding with fear instead of wonder. Can you blame them? These crystalline beings explicitly said contact between our species is forbidden by some cosmic law. The Coalition doesn't want to start an interstellar incident. Tarek leaned forward. But what if that law is wrong? What if the connection between Lyriel and me means something important? Petra studied him for a moment. This is more than scientific curiosity for you, isn't it? Before he could answer, their tablets simultaneously buzzed with an emergency alert. Commander Draven's stern face appeared on the screen. All senior personnel report to the command center immediately. We have detected an anomalous energy signature identical to the Callisto encounter. Tarek's heart raced as he rushed through Outpost Helios's curved corridors alongside Petra. When they arrived at the command center, the holographic display showed a swirling distortion forming just outside the station's defense perimeter. Commander Draven, a decorated veteran with a reputation for rigid adherence to protocol, stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His cybernetic eye whirred as it focused on Tarek. Lieutenant Navarro, our sensors indicate this disturbance matches the frequency pattern you've been researching. Care to explain the coincidence? I've been trying to understand the 7th resonance frequency, sir, but I haven't actively transmitted anything, Tarek replied, though his mind raced with possibilities. Had Lyriel found him? The distortion on the display grew larger, and the station's lights flickered. Sir, something's trying to interface with our systems, reported Officer Jamal from his console. It's bypassing our security protocols like they don't even exist. The main screen suddenly shifted, displaying a familiar crystalline structure, but not Lyriel. This being was angular, aggressive in its formation. Humans of Outpost Helios, the telepathic voice boomed in all their minds, making several officers wince in pain. I am Sentinel Nexer of the Etheria Enforcement Conclave. We have detected unauthorized quantum resonance experiments from your station. Commander Draven stepped forward. This is Commander Draven of the Earth Interstellar Coalition. We have conducted no such experiments. We have respected the boundaries established during our previous encounter. Deception is futile, Nexer responded. Our sensors have traced repeated attempts to access the 7th resonance, a violation of the Cosmic Accord. Surrender the perpetrator, or we will be forced to neutralize your outpost. All eyes turned to Tarek. He stepped forward despite Draven's warning gesture. I've been studying the resonance frequencies, but only passively. I haven't transmitted anything. The crystalline being shifted, facets realigning in what seemed like agitation. Your primitive understanding of quantum mechanics blinds you to the fact that observation itself is interaction. Your mind has been calling across the void, and another has been answering. A chill ran through Tarek. Had his thoughts of Lyriel somehow reached across space? Had their minds remained connected without his knowledge? We mean no harm, he said. If I violated your laws, the responsibility is mine alone. Lieutenant. Draven hissed, but Tarek ignored him. The crystalline sentinel seemed to consider this. The Council demands the human-designated Tarek Navarro be surrendered for examination. His unusual quantum signature must be studied and neutralized. That's out of the question, Draven said firmly. Lieutenant Navarro is under my command and Earth's protection. Then you leave us no alternative but. The Sentinel's form suddenly destabilized, its crystalline structure vibrating erratically. A new voice, familiar and musical, echoed in their minds. Nexer, stand down. The Council has not authorized extraction. Lyriel's form materialized beside the Sentinel, her crystalline body glowing with intensity Tarek hadn't seen before. She seemed stronger, more defined in her structure. Lyriel of the 3rd resonance, Nexer's voice dripped with contempt. You overstep your authority. The human's resonance threatens the dimensional barrier. You overstate the threat, she countered. I have monitored the situation. The human's quantum signature is unique but not dangerous. Their crystalline forms pulsed with light as they communicated in ways the humans couldn't perceive. Finally, Nexer's form dimmed slightly. The Council will hear of this interference, the Sentinel warned before dissolving from the screen. Lyriel remained, her attention turning to Tarek. I came as quickly as I could. Your thoughts have been reaching across the void, growing stronger each day. Is that even possible? Tarek asked, ignoring the stunned expressions of his colleagues. For most humans, no. But you are different, a quantum anomaly. Her form shimmered. It is why I was drawn to you from the beginning. Commander Draven stepped between them. I don't know what's happening here, but Lieutenant Navarro is not going anywhere with you or your kind. I have no intention of taking him, Lyriel responded. But you must understand, the connection between us cannot be broken now. It exists outside conventional spacetime. Quantum entanglement, Petra whispered. Their consciousness are somehow linked at the quantum level. Draven's cybernetic eye narrowed. Lieutenant, you're relieved of duty pending a full investigation. Dr. Solano, I want a complete analysis of this quantum entanglement and how to sever it. Sir, Tarek protested, this could be the most significant breakthrough in interspecies communication we've ever. That's enough, Lieutenant. Draven snapped. This station is now on high alert. Whatever connection you formed with this alien entity has put us all at risk. Lyriel's form dimmed with what Tarek somehow knew was sadness. The Sentinel will return with reinforcements. The Enforcement Conclave does not tolerate exceptions to cosmic law. Then what do we do? Tarek asked. Meet me where the twin stars align, Lyriel responded, her form beginning to dissolve. I will show you why our connection frightens them so. After she vanished, the command center erupted into chaos. Draven barked orders for increased security and a complete communications blackout. 2 security officers moved to escort Tarek to the brig. But Petra caught his arm before they took him away. The twin stars, she whispered. The binary system at the heart of the Callisto Nebula. They align once every 60 days from our position. Which is tomorrow, she finished. Whatever you're planning, be careful. As the security officers led him away, Tarek felt something unfamiliar yet comforting in his mind, Lyriel's presence, distant but undeniable. Their thoughts were intertwined now, quantum entangled across the stars. In his quarters-turned cell, Tarek spent hours in meditation, focusing on the sensation of Lyriel's consciousness touching his. Gradually, images formed in his mind, a vast crystalline city suspended in what appeared to be another dimension, overlapping with normal space. He saw Lyriel arguing before a council of elder Etherians, their forms towering and intimidating. The prophecy speaks of union between realms, she insisted. Tarek is the key, a human whose quantum signature resonates with our dimensional frequency. The prophecy is allegorical, not literal, responded an elder. Corporeal beings cannot sustain consciousness across dimensional barriers. The human will be destroyed. Then why does his mind touch mine even now? Lyriel challenged. Why do the patterns of probability shift around him? Tarek gasped as the vision faded. He understood now why their connection was forbidden. It challenged everything the Etherians believed about the separation between dimensions. A soft knock at his door startled him. It slid open to reveal Petra, looking nervously over her shoulder. I shouldn't be here, she whispered, but I've been analyzing the quantum data from both Etherian encounters. She handed him a small device. This will amplify the 7th resonance frequency. If you're really planning to meet her, this might help. Why are you helping me? He asked. Petra's expression softened. Because I've never seen anything like the quantum patterns between your consciousness and hers. It's beautiful, Tarek, like watching 2 stars orbiting each other in perfect harmony. A sudden commotion in the corridor caught their attention. Commander Draven's voice echoed down the hall, demanding a station-wide search. They've detected another quantum fluctuation, Petra explained hurriedly. A shuttle is missing from Bay 3. I've programmed the coordinates for the binary stars alignment point. She squeezed his arm. Go, before they lock down the entire station. As alarms began to blare, Tarek slipped through the maintenance corridors of Outpost Helios, the quantum amplifier clutched in his hand. Whatever awaited him at the heart of the Callisto Nebula, whatever cosmic laws he was breaking, he knew one thing with absolute certainty: the connection he shared with Lyriel transcended the boundaries between their worlds. And nothing in this universe or any other would keep them apart. The Stellar Schism. The stolen shuttle tumbled through the swirling gases of the Callisto Nebula, its navigation system struggling against the electromagnetic interference. Tarek gripped the controls, his eyes fixed on the twin stars at the nebula's heart, 2 golden giants locked in an eternal dance around each other. Just like us, he whispered, feeling Lyriel's presence growing stronger in his mind as he approached the alignment point. His console beeped urgently, warning of pursuit vessels. Commander Draven had wasted no time deploying Outpost Helios's security ships. Tarek pushed the shuttle's engines beyond safety parameters, diving deeper into the nebula where the cosmic dust might mask his signature. As the twin stars aligned perfectly from his vantage point, Tarek activated the quantum amplifier Petra had given him. The device hummed to life, emitting a frequency that made his teeth vibrate and his vision blur. Tarek, Lyriel's voice filled his mind, clearer than ever before. Follow the resonance. I will guide you. A strange tunnel of light appeared before his shuttle, invisible to normal sensors but somehow visible to his enhanced perception. Tarek steered into it, and the universe around him shifted. Space itself seemed to fold, compressing and expanding simultaneously in ways his human mind struggled to comprehend. When reality stabilized, his shuttle was drifting in what appeared to be a vast pocket of calm within the nebula, a bubble of clear space hidden from outside observation. At its center floated a small asteroid that had been transformed into a research outpost, its surface covered with a patchwork of structures from different civilizations. Welcome to the Convergence, Lyriel's voice came, as her crystalline form materialized inside his shuttle. A place between dimensions where cosmic law holds less sway. Tarek reached out instinctively, surprised when his fingers met resistance. Lyriel's form was more solid here, almost tangible. How is this possible? He asked. The convergence exists at the intersection of multiple dimensional planes. Here, the etheria can take more corporeal form, and beings like you can perceive the higher dimensions. She guided his shuttle toward a docking bay carved into the asteroid. It has been a sanctuary for those who challenged the rigid boundaries between worlds for millennia. As they disembarked, Tarek marveled at the impossible architecture around them, structures that seemed to exist in more dimensions than his eyes could process, populated by beings of various forms. Some were clearly physical like himself, others vaporous or energy-based, and still others like Lyriel, crystalline entities of light and structure. This place is incredible, he breathed. Why keep it secret? The cosmic accord that governs relations between dimensional planes forbids such mixing of species. The Etherian Council and your interstellar coalition are both signatories, though your people signed without fully understanding the implications. Wait, Tarek stopped. Earth agreed to this separation. When? The year 2157 in your calendar. Your first deep space expedition encountered the outer boundaries of Etherian space. The Council made contact with your leaders, explaining that humanity was not yet ready for the complex realities of multidimensional existence. Tarek's mind reeled. That was nearly 40 years ago, and had been kept completely secret from Earth's population and most of its space program. So the Nebula Seeker's mission was no accident, Lyriel confirmed. Certain factions within both our societies have been working toward controlled contact. But our connection was unexpected, and far stronger than anyone anticipated. She led him through winding corridors to a laboratory unlike any Tarek had ever seen. Equipment from a dozen different technologies intermingled, and at its center stood a woman with silver hair and eyes that gleamed with an unnatural violet light. Dr. Vesta Renlo, the woman introduced herself with a clipped accent Tarek couldn't place. Exiled from 3 different worlds for my research into cross-dimensional biology. Lyriel tells me you two have achieved spontaneous quantum consciousness entanglement. Fascinating. Can you help us? Tarek asked. Vesta circled him, scanning with a device that emitted soft pulses of multicolored light. Perhaps. Your quantum signature is indeed unusual for a human. Harmonizes with Etherian frequency patterns in ways that should be impossible. She paused, her violet eyes narrowing. But that's not all, is it? There's something else, a pattern I've never seen before. Lyriel moved closer to Tarek, her crystalline form pulsing with emotion. We believe our connection may relate to the convergence prophecy. Vesta froze. That's dangerous territory, even here. What prophecy? Tarek asked. Before either could answer, alarms blared throughout the outpost. A holographic screen materialized, showing multiple ships entering the hidden pocket of space, Earth vessels led by the outpost Helios command ship, and crystalline Etherian enforcers on the opposite side. How did they find this place? Vesta hissed. The quantum resonance between Tarek and me, Lyriel realized. It's grown too strong to mask, even here. Vesta grabbed equipment from various workstations, shoving it into a containment field. We need to move. They'll be after my research more than you two. The outpost trembled as the first communication beam struck its shields. Convergence outpost, came Sentinel Nexer's cold mental voice, surrender the human Tarek Novarro and the rogue Etherian Lyriel immediately. A second later, Commander Draven's voice echoed through the corridors. "This is Commander Draven of the Earth Interstellar Coalition. Return Lieutenant Navarro to custody or face military response." Vesta led them through hidden passages deeper into the asteroid. "Both your peoples fear what they don't understand. The prophecy terrifies them because it suggests their precious cosmic order is flawed." They reached a small chamber containing what looked like an ancient stone tablet covered in symbols unlike any Tarek had seen, part mathematical equation, part artistic rendering. "The convergence prophecy," Vesta explained, "discovered in the ruins of the precursor civilization that existed before both humans and Etherians. It speaks of a time when the dimensional barriers would thin, allowing a union between corporeal and non-corporeal beings. This union would herald a transformation of consciousness throughout the multiverse." Tarek studied the symbols, certain parts somehow making sense to him despite their alienness. "And they think Lyriel and I are fulfilling this prophecy." "Your quantum entanglement is unprecedented," Vesta confirmed. "Two beings from different dimensional planes, different physical compositions, achieving harmonic consciousness. It shouldn't be possible." The outpost shook more violently as weapons fire struck its shields. On a nearby monitor, Tarek watched Earth and Etherian forces engaging in a tense standoff, each demanding the outpost surrender its fugitives. "We can't let them start a war because of us," he said. "Nor can we surrender," Lyriel added. "The Council would separate us permanently, erasing our quantum bond forcibly." Vesta moved to a console, her fingers dancing over controls. "There is one option, risky, but it might work. The precursors built a network of quantum gateways throughout the galaxy. Most are dormant or destroyed, but I've located one intact at the heart of the Callisto Nebula, within the shadow of the twin stars." "What would it do?" Tarek asked. "Theoretically, transport you to a pocket dimension where the cosmic accord has no jurisdiction. But the gateway requires a specific quantum signature to activate, a perfect balance between corporeal and non-corporeal energy. The very signature our bond has created," Lyriel realized. The outpost rocked again as a section of its shields failed. Warning lights flashed as atmosphere began venting from the outer levels. "They're boarding from both sides," Vesta warned. "Coalition forces from the west, Etherian enforcers from the east. We don't have much time." She handed Tarek a small device resembling a crystal embedded in metal. "This contains coordinates for the gateway and an activation sequence tuned to your combined quantum signature. I've been researching this for decades, but never had the key to make it work." "Come with us," Tarek offered. Vesta shook her head. "Someone needs to slow them down and erase the research data. Besides, my place is here, fighting for knowledge against those who would restrict it." Her violet eyes flashed. "Now go. There's an escape pod at the end of this corridor." As they turned to leave, the door on the far side of the chamber exploded inward. Commander Draven stepped through, flanked by security officers, his cybernetic eye glowing red. "Lieutenant Navarro," he said coldly, "you've violated at least 15 coalition regulations. Surrender now." From the opposite door emerged Sentinel Nexer and 2 other Etherian enforcers, their crystalline forms pulsing with aggressive energy. "Lyriel of the Third Resonance, your actions threaten the cosmic accord. The dimensional balance must be preserved." Tarek and Lyriel stood back to back in the center of the chamber, caught between 2 worlds that sought to tear them apart. "Commander," Tarek appealed, "there's so much you don't know, secrets kept from Earth for decades. We've been manipulated into fearing what we don't understand." "Save it, Lieutenant," Draven snapped. "The Galactic Council has just declared all contact between humans and Etherians illegal under penalty of permanent exile. You're coming home to face charges." "The human speaks truth, Commander," Lyriel projected to all present. "Our connection reveals flaws in the cosmic order your leaders blindly enforce. We are not meant to be separate." "Enough." Draven raised his weapon. "Step away from the alien entity, Lieutenant. Final warning." Nexer's crystalline form expanded threateningly. "Surrender the human, Lyriel, or we will extract him forcibly." Vesta slipped something into Tarek's hand, a small detonator. "The East Corridor," she whispered. "On my signal." She stepped forward dramatically. "Gentlemen, and crystalline entities, perhaps we can resolve this peacefully. I've been studying the quantum resonance between these two, and I believe I can neutralize it without harming either party." As attention shifted to Vesta, Tarek's fingers tightened on the detonator. Lyriel's consciousness brushed against his, and he felt her understanding without words. Now! Vesta shouted. Tarek pressed the detonator. The ceiling above the eastern corridor collapsed in a controlled explosion, blocking the Etherean enforcers temporarily. In the same moment, Vesta threw a device that erupted in blinding light, disorienting Draven and his officers. "Run," she commanded. Tarek and Lyriel bolted through the western corridor, her crystalline form flowing beside him with impossible grace. Behind them, he heard Draven shouting orders and the mental pressure of Nexer trying to track them. They reached the escape pod, a sleek vessel barely large enough for two. As Tarek initiated the launch sequence, Lyriel turned to him, her crystalline structure vibrating with what he now recognized as anxiety. "Tarek, if we activate the gateway, there may be no return. The pocket dimension exists outside normal spacetime. We would be exiles from both our worlds." He reached out, his hand passing through her semi-corporeal form, feeling the familiar resonance between them. "I've never belonged anywhere the way I belong with you," he said simply. "Whatever awaits us, we face it together." The escape pod launched, shooting away from the convergence outpost just as Coalition and Etherean vessels converged on it from opposite sides. On the pod's small view screen, Tarek watched Commander Draven's ship lock a tractor beam on them. "Too late," he whispered, activating Vesta's device. Coordinates for the precursor gateway appeared, buried within the corona of the twin stars at the nebula's heart. As Tarek piloted toward it, Lyriel's consciousness merged more deeply with his than ever before. He saw through her perceptions, the beautiful mathematics of spacetime, the music of quantum vibrations, the underlying patterns connecting all things. And together, flying toward an ancient gateway and an uncertain future, they felt something powerful taking shape between them, something that transcended both their worlds and threatened to reshape the very fabric of reality itself. Constellation of Hope. The escape pod hurtled through the corona of the twin stars, its shield straining against the stellar energies. Inside, Tarek's hands flew across the controls while Lyriel's crystalline form pulsed with increasing luminosity, her consciousness intertwined with his as they navigated toward the coordinates Vesta had given them. "Tractor beam disengaged," Tarek announced, watching Commander Draven's ship fall back as they penetrated deeper into the stellar radiation zone. "Even Coalition vessels can't follow us this close to the binary stars." "The Etherean enforcers are less hindered," Lyriel cautioned, her mental voice resonating through his thoughts. "They can traverse stellar matter more easily than corporeal ships." Through the viewport, Tarek could see the crystalline vessels of the Etherean enforcement conclave shimmering as they pursued, their structures somehow adapting to the intense radiation. "How much further to the gateway?" he asked. "According to Vesta's coordinates, it should be." Lyriel stopped abruptly. "There. Do you see it?" At first, Tarek saw nothing but the swirling stellar matter where the gravitational forces of the twin stars created a unique spatial anomaly. Then, as if his perception had suddenly shifted, he noticed it, a massive ring-like structure, ancient beyond imagining, its surface inscribed with the same symbols they had seen on the precursor tablet. "The gateway," he breathed. "It's been hiding in plain sight all this time, masked by the star's electromagnetic field." As they approached, the gateway began to respond to their presence, sections of its ancient structure illuminating with soft blue light. Tarek guided the pod toward the center of the ring, while Lyriel extended her consciousness toward the precursor technology, trying to understand its operation. "It's designed to recognize specific quantum signatures," she communicated. "The precursors built it to transcend the dimensional barriers that separate different forms of existence." "Like us," Tarek said, understanding dawning. "A human and an Etherean, corporeal and non-corporeal beings quantum entangled. The key that Vesta mentioned, the device she gave you. It needs to interface with the gateway." Tarek removed the crystal-embedded device from his pocket. It hummed with energy, responding to both his touch and Lyriel's proximity. Following her guidance, he connected it to the pod's communication array, which began transmitting the activation sequence to the ancient gateway. The ring structure's illumination intensified, creating a spiraling vortex of energy at its center. But just as hope surged within them, warning alarms blared across the pod's systems. "Multiple vessels converging on our position," Tarek reported grimly. "Not just Draven and the Etherean enforcers, these are new signatures." The pod's view screen showed a startling sight, a massive Etherean vessel emerging from what appeared to be a fold in space itself, its crystalline structure more complex and imposing than any they had encountered. Simultaneously, from the opposite direction approached an Earth dreadnought bearing the insignia of the Coalition High Command. The Etherian High Council vessel, Lyriel identified, her form dimming with concern. And your Coalition flagship? They must have been summoned when the Cosmic Accord was violated. The pod's communication system activated without Tarek's input, and two figures appeared on the split screen: Admiral Orson of the Earth Coalition, stern and unyielding in his formal uniform, and Elder Sinther of the Etherian High Council, whose crystalline form towered with authority. Lieutenant Navarro, Admiral Orson began, his voice cold, power down your vessel immediately. Your actions have brought us to the brink of interdimensional conflict. Lyriel of the Third Resonance, Elder Sinther's mental voice boomed simultaneously, your defiance threatens the balance maintained for eons. Surrender the human, and your transgression may yet be forgiven. Tarek glanced at the activation sequence, it was only half complete. They needed more time. Admiral, Elder, he addressed both leaders, there's something you don't understand about the Cosmic Accord. It's based on a misinterpretation of the Precursor legacy. Save your explanations for your court-martial, Lieutenant, Orson responded. You've stolen Coalition property, conspired with a foreign entity, and violated dozens of security protocols. The time for dialogue has passed, added Sinther. We will extract you forcibly if necessary. Both massive vessels began powering weapons systems. The escape pod, caught between them, had nowhere to run. Lyriel's form brightened suddenly. Tarek, the gateway is responding to our combined quantum signature even without the full activation sequence. Our consciousness entanglement is strengthening the connection. But it's not fully activated, Tarek pointed out. We have no idea where it might send us, or if we'd survive the transition. There's something else, Lyriel communicated privately to him. I've been analyzing the precursor symbols. This isn't just a gateway to escape, it's a restoration mechanism. The precursors designed it to heal the rifts between dimensional planes. Understanding bloomed in Tarek's mind through their shared consciousness. It was never about escaping, he realized. The prophecy wasn't about us fleeing to another dimension, it's about bringing the dimensions back into harmony. Before either could respond, tractor beams from both the Earth and Etherian vessels locked onto their pod, holding it immobile between opposing forces. The strain on the small craft's structural integrity set off multiple alarms. Hull breach imminent, Tarek warned, watching the pod's systems flash critical warnings. On the communication screen, Admiral Orson was conferring with someone off-screen. When he returned his attention to Tarek, his expression had hardened further. Lieutenant, we've detected an ancient precursor technology activating. Whatever you're doing, stop it immediately. Coalition scientists warn that disrupting the dimensional barriers could have catastrophic consequences. The human doesn't understand what he's interfering with, Elder Sinther insisted. The separation of dimensions is necessary for cosmic stability. Lyriel's crystalline form pulsed with sudden determination. Is it, Elder? Or is that what the Council has claimed for millennia to maintain its power? She turned to Tarek, her consciousness flowing into his with newfound clarity. We need to complete the activation, not to escape, but to fulfill the prophecy's true purpose. The precursors never intended the dimensions to be separated. The Cosmic Accord was built on fear, not wisdom. The pod shuddered violently as the opposing tractor beams increased in power, threatening to tear the small vessel apart. Through the viewport, Tarek could see the gateway pulsing more intensely, responding to their presence despite the incomplete activation. In that moment, Tarek made his decision. He reached out to Lyriel, and as their energies merged more completely than ever before, he broadcasted his thoughts to both fleets. Admiral Orson, Elder Sinther, the precursors left this technology not as a weapon or escape route, but as a bridge. For too long, our species have been kept apart by laws based on misunderstanding and fear. Lieutenant, stand down immediately. Orson commanded. This human speaks of things beyond his comprehension, Sinther added dismissively. But Tarek continued, feeling Lyriel's support flowing through him. The quantum entanglement between Lyriel and me isn't an accident or aberration, it's proof that the dimensional barriers were never meant to be absolute. The convergence prophecy wasn't about destruction, but reunification. As he spoke, something remarkable began to happen. The gateway's energy patterns shifted, expanding outward in concentric rings that passed harmlessly through the pod and continued toward the assembled fleets. Wherever these rings touched, sensors temporarily malfunctioned, and for brief moments, beings on both sides reported seeing into other dimensional planes normally invisible to them. On the Coalition flagship, Admiral Orson staggered as his perception momentarily expanded, allowing him to perceive the true nature of the Etherians, not just as crystalline entities, but as complex consciousness patterns extending through multiple dimensions. Simultaneously, Elder Sinther and the Etherian Council experienced sensory input they had never known, the visceral, immediate reality of corporeal existence, with all its limitations and intense beauty. "What is happening?" Orson demanded, his composure shaken. "The gateway is functioning as designed," Lyriel explained, her mental voice now reaching all vessels in both fleets. "It's temporarily aligning the dimensional frequencies, allowing mutual perception across the dimensional divide." In the center of it all, Tarek and Lyriel felt their consciousnesses merging even more deeply. Through their combined perception, the ancient symbols on the gateway finally made complete sense, not instructions for escape, but a methodology for healing the fragmented dimensions. The precursors were a unified species, Tarek realized, broadcasting his thoughts to all who could hear. They existed simultaneously across multiple dimensional planes, both corporeal and non-corporeal. They weren't separated as we are now. And when their civilization fell, Lyriel continued, the dimensions began to drift apart. The cosmic accord wasn't created to protect us from each other, it was a stopgap measure to prevent further dimensional fracturing. The energy rings from the gateway continued to expand, touching more ships, allowing more beings from both sides to experience this momentary dimensional alignment. Reports flooded in from across both fleets, Etherians and humans describing revelatory insights about each other's existence. Dr. Petra Solano, who had insisted on joining Commander Draven's pursuit vessel, stepped forward on the command deck, her eyes wide with understanding. "Admiral," she addressed Orson on the fleet communication channel, "they're right. I'm analyzing the quantum harmonics from the gateway. This technology was designed to restore something that was lost. The precursors existed in a state of dimensional unity that we've forgotten was even possible." Elder Sinther's crystalline form shifted as the Etherian Council conferred among themselves. "The Council's archives speak of a time before the Accord," one of the younger elders admitted. "When our ancestors could manifest more fully in the corporeal realm, and corporeal beings could perceive the higher dimensions." The incredible tension of the moment hung in the balance as leaders from both sides processed this revelation. In the escape pod, now severely damaged by the opposing tractor beams, Tarek and Lyriel completed their consciousness merger, becoming something neither human nor Etherian, but a hybrid existence that bridged both realities. Through their unified perception, they directed the final activation sequence to the gateway. The ancient ring structure responded immediately, its energy patterns stabilizing into a sustained field that extended throughout the region of space around the twin stars. Within this field, the dimensional barriers thinned permanently. Humans found they could perceive aspects of the Etherians previously invisible to them, while Etherians experienced corporeal sensations with newfound clarity. It wasn't a complete merging of dimensions, that would take time and further work, but it was a beginning. Admiral Orson was the first to stand down, ordering the tractor beam disengaged. "All vessels, cease aggressive actions," he commanded, his voice unsteady but resolute. "We need to reassess everything we thought we knew about the cosmic accord." Elder Sinther hesitated longer, but as reports continued to flood in from Etherians experiencing this new perception, the Council finally relented. "Release the human vessel," came the order. The prophecy unfolds differently than we anticipated. Released from the opposing tractor beams, the damaged escape pod drifted into the heart of the gateway. Tarek and Lyriel, their merged consciousness now stabilizing into something entirely new, felt the ancient technology responding to them, recognizing in their union the fulfillment of its purpose. "We are the bridge," they communicated together to both fleets. "The first of many connections that will heal the divide between our peoples and eventually all dimensional planes." "What happens now?" Admiral Orson asked, the hostility gone from his voice, replaced by cautious wonder. "Now we begin anew," they answered. "The cosmic accord must be rewritten, not as a treaty of separation, but as a pathway to reunification. The precursors left us this legacy not to keep us apart, but to remind us that we were once united." From the heart of the gateway, Tarek and Lyriel, now something both more and less than their individual selves, began the work of translation. The entire surface of the ancient ring glowed with previously dormant symbols, revealing the complete precursor knowledge of dimensional harmonics. 6 months later, the region around the Callisto Nebula had been transformed. A joint Earth-Etherian research station orbited the gateway, staffed by scientists from both species working to understand and implement the precursor technologies. The dimensional thinning had been carefully maintained and gradually expanded, allowing limited but meaningful interaction between planes of existence long separated. In the central chamber of the station, Admiral Orson and Elder Sinther stood side by side, watching as the being that had once been Tarek and Lyriel guided a group of new human-Etherian consciousness pairings through the initial stages of quantum entanglement. "I still struggle to understand exactly what they've become," Orson admitted. Sinther's crystalline form shifted in what had come to be recognized as a gesture of agreement. "They exist simultaneously in multiple dimensional states, neither fully human nor fully Etherian, but a bridge between worlds. The first of a new kind of existence that our separate species had forgotten was possible. And these new volunteers?" Orson gestured to the humans and Etherians undergoing the carefully managed consciousness entanglement process. "The next bridges," Sinther replied. "Each pairing strengthens the dimensional alignment. According to the precursor knowledge, once a critical threshold is reached, the healing of the dimensional fracture will become self-sustaining." Dr. Petra Solano approached, carrying a tablet displaying complex quantum equations. "Admiral, Elder," she greeted them both. "The latest results are promising. We've identified 17 more potential human-Etherian pairs with compatible quantum signatures." 17. Orson raised an eyebrow. "A month ago, we could barely find 3. "That's the fascinating part," Petra explained, her eyes bright with excitement. "As the dimensional barrier thins, more beings on both sides develop compatible quantum signatures. It's as if our very consciousness is evolving in response to the renewed possibility of connection." The entity that had been Tarek and Lyriel approached, its form now a harmonious blend of human and crystalline attributes that shifted fluidly between states. When it spoke, its voice resonated simultaneously in audible sound and telepathic impulse. "The precursors would be pleased," they said. "After eons of separation, the healing has begun." "There will be resistance," Orson cautioned. "Many on Earth still fear what they don't understand. As do many among the Etherian conclave," Sinther added. "Sentinel Nexer leads a faction that believes the dimensional barrier should be reinforced, not diminished." The Tarek-Lyriel entity's form shimmered with what might have been amusement. "Fear of the unknown is natural for beings accustomed to limitation. But each new pairing, each new bridge between worlds, illuminates more of what has been hidden. Knowledge dissolves fear." Petra's tablet chimed with an alert. "The gateway's energy signature is changing again," she reported. "It's responding to the new entanglements." Outside the station, visible through the observation dome, the ancient precursor ring began to pulse with renewed energy. The patterns of light spreading from it were more complex now, reaching farther into both dimensional planes. Where these energies touched, new perceptions awakened in beings that had never before known the possibility of seeing beyond their native dimension. "It's beautiful," Orson whispered, watching as the light patterns formed a vast constellation across the surrounding space, a network of connections reminiscent of neurons firing in a cosmic brain. "A constellation of hope," Sinther agreed, the Elder's usually formal mental voice tinged with emotion. The Tarek-Lyriel entity extended its consciousness outward, feeling the new bridges forming throughout the region. Each connection strengthened the whole, each union of minds bringing the fractured dimensions one step closer to the harmony they had known in the time of the precursors. "We were never meant to be apart," they said, their unified voice echoing with certainty. "The stars themselves remember when all beings dwelled together in understanding. That memory has waited patiently across the eons, preserved in the gateway until those who could hear its call would arise." As the constellation of connections continued to expand around them, Tarek-Lyriel felt the essence of the prophecy finally fulfilled, not in escape or isolation, but in reunion. Their love, once forbidden by the stars, had become the first spark in a cosmic renaissance that would ultimately bridge not just their two worlds, but all planes of existence throughout the galaxy. And in the heart of the twin stars, the ancient gateway pulsed with the rhythm of countless minds awakening to possibilities long forgotten, a beacon calling out across the dimensional divide, guiding lost fragments of consciousness back toward their primordial unity, one quantum entanglement at a time.